The camera pans across the silent courtroom. Every seat is filled, yet no one breathes. Christine's eyes lock on Kody's, cold, unflinching, full of years of unspoken rage. Robyn's hands tremble as she whispers a prayer. And then, the judge says the words that shatter everything they ever built together. Mr. Brown, you're accused of more than betrayal. You're accused of destroying a family built on faith and lies. The gasps ring out like thunder. This isn't simply a trial. It's a reckoning. If you thought that Sister Wives was drama on television, wait and see what actually went down when love, lies, and loyalty were put on trial. Hang in there to the end, because what gets exposed in this courtroom is going to flip your entire understanding of the Browns on its head. And I have to ask, who do you believe is really innocent here? Comment below after you hear it all. The courtroom has a faint scent of waxed wood and anxiety. Cameras march along the back wall. Their small red lights winking like unspoken witnesses. Kody Brown sits rigidly at the defendant's table, his clenched jaw, eyes shifting between the judge and the wives who once were family. Christine, sitting behind the prosecution, refuses to glance in his direction. Her fingers ring the creased corner of a folded photograph, their family portrait, creases frayed from countless nights spent weighing whether she would ever testify. Robyn's cheeks shine with unshed tears, lips moving in silent prayer, as Janelle sits forward, unmoving, striving not to reveal the tempest seething under her placidity. The bailiff demands order as there is a murmur that runs through the crowd. The judge, a woman whose voice is keen enough to cleave through bone, pushes up her glasses. Court is now in session. State versus Kody Brown. The words ring heavy, charged. Kody lets out a slow, low breath, attempting to rein in the panic gripping his chest. He stood before cameras previously, but never so. Not when his liberty hangs in the balance of the honesty he spent years manipulating. Christine's lawyer stands first, the heels of her shoes clicking out a rhythm on the floor. Your Honor, this is not merely a matter of a man who has many wives. This is all about manipulation, coercion, and fraud in the name of faith. Each word cuts deeper than the previous one. Kody winces but masks it behind that honed half-smile, the one America once fell for. The lawyer goes on to recount how bank accounts were concealed, how vows were broken, and how one woman, Christine, finally said enough was enough. Christine finally finds courage to look up, locking eyes with Kody's. The air sizzles between them. I loved you, she says, her voice shaking, but used that love to manipulate me. Kody's fists clench, and he wishes to say something, but his lawyer places a gentle touch on his arm. Not yet. The audience leans in, drawn in by the agonizing disentanglement of what once was love. And just when the viewer is sure they know who's victimized, the defense submits one piece of paper that blows everything apart. It's a bank statement, but not signed by Kody, signed by Robyn. The room erupts in gasps. Christine faces her, disbelief shattering on the shards of confusion. You didn't know anything, she spits. Robyn's tears finally break, but her silence is more a screaming indictment than any mere words. The judge demands order again, but tumult rolls through the gallery. Janelle puts her hand to her mouth, whispering, "Oh my God, Robyn," whispering, "Oh my God, Robyn, what did you do?" Kody takes the opportunity, his voice trembling but firm. I said it then, I didn't do it myself. The attorney closes her folder. So you acknowledge it was done? Kody stares ahead. I acknowledge. I made mistakes. But I wasn't the only one playing with fire. Tension continues to build, almost choking. The viewers sitting in their homes all over the nation lean forward, waiting for someone to say something. Robyn finally speaks. You wanted me to, she wails, facing Kody. You said it was for us, for the family. I signed what you instructed me to sign. I signed what you instructed me to sign. The judge slams down her gavel, eyes squinting. Mr. Brown, if you intimidated this woman into signing forged papers, no. Kody blurts out, his facade breaking for the first time. I didn't coerce anyone. They all knew. Every one of them knew. His words ring out, ricocheting off the walls of the courtroom like bullets. Christine gets to her feet, sobbing now. Don't you dare take us all down with you.
Her voice shakes, but her eyes flash with something wild. Not hatred, but freedom. She's finally speaking what she was too afraid to say for years. You created a kingdom of deceit, Kody, and we assisted you in keeping it aloft. But now it's collapsing, and we won't stand under it anymore.
The judge orders a recess, and the wives disperse. Christine to the hallway, where she leans on the wall and gasps for air. Janelle to the bathroom, holding her phone. Robyn sitting quietly, crying, still not willing to meet anyone's eyes. Kody sits, his head in his hands, muttering to himself, "They'll forgive me. They always do." But the quiver in his voice tells another story. This is the world's first ever glimpse of Kody Brown cornered, and the cracks in his immaculate image are beginning to break wide apart. Out in the hallway, reporters buzz like vultures, screaming questions that cut through the hot air. "Christine, did you finagle me financially? Robyn, is it you?" Christine continues walking, her face ashy but resolute. She refuses to speak, but the silence speaks volumes. In the building, Kody's attorney moves closer. "We have to settle. If Robyn is called as a witness, this whole case disintegrates." Kody's jaw clenches. "She won't. She owes me that much." But he's mistaken, because in the corridor, Robyn's already being questioned by the prosecution. A hushed discussion starts. She's shaking, but there's something in her eyes, a bit of guilt and determination. Christine observes from afar, knowing full well what's going on. It's the same expression she had when she had made up her mind to leave him. "She's breaking," Christine whispers, finally losing control. Back in the house, the courtroom is empty. Kody sits by himself, making circles on the shiny table, his mind elsewhere. Flashbacks come tumbling in, the laughter at dinner, the endless nights of shooting, the vows of infinite togetherness. It's all a distant past now. A swift flash of guilt hits him, but he represses it. He's always thought he could talk his way out of anything. But now, with cameras in motion and all eyes upon him, words won't be enough to save him. The viewers are unaware yet, but what Robyn chooses to say next will make this trial the most surprising moment in Sister Wives history. The gavel rings again, summoning everyone back. Robyn enters, grasping her purse as a shield. Her face is smeared with tears, but her back is straight. Kody's eyes plead with her silently, "Don't do this." She refuses to look at him. Christine, Janelle, and Meri emerge behind her, the atmosphere around them charged. The judge regards them from the bench. "Mrs. Brown, please proceed to the stand." Kody's heart rages in his chest. The world slows down. Each second drags on into eternity as Robyn approaches the witness stand, rests her hand on the Bible, and vows to tell the truth. She pauses for an instant before she speaks. "Your Honor," she says softly, "I was instructed to lie. To defend him. To defend him. To defend the face we presented to the world." Kody's attorney leaps to his feet. "Objection," but the judge silences him with a wave of his hand. "Overruled. Go on, Mrs. Brown." Robyn's voice shakes as she speaks on. "I signed on because I believed it was the right thing to do. But when I discovered what he'd done with the funds," she swallows hard and her hand covers her mouth. The courtroom grows quiet. Color drains from Kody's face. Christine scoots forward, whispering to Janelle, "This is it." Robyn slowly brings her hand down and looks at Kody. "You said it was for my children's future. But it was for yours, wasn't it? But it was for yours, wasn't it?" The silence is oppressive. The viewers sense the burden of each shattered promise, each single tear ever cried behind the facade of perfect faith. And there, in the silence of it, the Sister Wives saga takes its turn from family drama to courtroom battle, one that will reveal the truth they all took an oath to conceal. The judge leans forward, her voice serious. "Mrs. Brown, are you telling me the defendant used communal money for personal profit?" Robyn nods almost imperceptibly. "Yes, and I have evidence." The room erupts in gasps. Kody clutches the table, knuckles white. "You have no idea what you're doing," he mutters under his breath. But Robyn's finished being quiet. Her voice increases, now crystal clear and powerful. "I know exactly what I'm doing. I'm telling the truth. The courtroom erupts again, reporters scribbling frantically, cameras flashing. The judge bangs her gavel over and over, shouting for order. But there's no order left in this story, only chaos, betrayal, and the unraveling of everything that once made them a family. As the darkness closes in, Christine closes her eyes and whispers softly to herself, finally, and the camera rests on Kody's face, ashen, trembling, and for the first time in his life, scared. Because what's about to happen will not only determine his destiny, it will reveal the secret that not even his wives anticipated. The courthouse the next day is covered in a gray, dense sky that seems to be holding its breath. The news trucks cluster along the street, the anchors running lines, the words "Sister Wives Scandal" scrolling across every television screen in America. Inside, Kody Brown sits at the defense table, his face 10 years older than it was yesterday. His suit is sharp, but his hands tremble as he riffles through his notes, pages that are meaningless now that Robyn has turned against him. The rumors begin even before the judge appears. Reporters whisper that Robyn's testimony may lead to criminal charges much more serious than financial fraud. Christine waits in the gallery next to Janelle, her heart racing, a strange blend of satisfaction and fear churning within her. She never sought revenge, she sought freedom. But as she sees Kody sit there, jaw set, she can no longer distinguish between justice and revenge. What everyone doesn't know is that behind all those courtroom walls, each individual sitting there has a secret they're afraid will be revealed before this trial is over. The judge bangs his gavel. "Mrs. Brown, continue your testimony." Robyn nervously clears her throat, her hands shaking slightly as she clutches the side of the witness stand. "When I realized what Kody had done," she begins, "I tried to confront him privately. He told me I was overreacting, that everything he did was for the family's good. But the accounts didn't add up. There were transfers I didn't recognize, payments to names I didn't know." She glances down, voice breaking. "And that's when I discovered he was transferring funds into an offshore account in someone else's name." The courtroom gasps. Kody's attorney leaps to his feet, objecting vociferously, but Robyn's words are already biting like bullets. The judge rules her objections out. "Mrs. Brown, can you provide proof of this accusation?" Robyn nods unsteadily. "Yes. Emails, texts, transaction records." She digs into her purse, producing a thick folder, the same one Kody believed she incinerated years earlier. His face blanches. "Robyn," he growls softly, "you have no idea what you're doing." She locks eyes with him for the first time in days. "No, Kody. For once, I do." Christine holds onto Janelle's arm. "This is it," she breathes. "He's done." But Janelle's not smiling in relief. She appears anxious. "You think he'll take it lying down. He never does." The prosecutor moves forward, removing the folder from Robyn, leafing through the facts. Each page is a hammer in the nail of the man they once followed blindly. Kody leans across to his attorney, mumbling angrily. "We can still spin it. Say it was a misunderstanding. Family finances are complex." But even his lawyer is aware that the tide has shifted. The judge grants a temporary recess, and the wives stream out into the hallway. The atmosphere is oppressive. Robyn collapses onto a bench, head in hands, weeping silently. Christine stands over her, looking at her with anger mixed with compassion. "You should have told us years ago," she whispers. Robyn raises her head, her face streaming with tears. "Would you have believed me then?" The words are a punch because the reality is, perhaps not. For years, they all wanted to believe Kody's idea of love, his promises, his agenda. It was easier to believe him than to accept what really was. But the truth has a way of catching up, and once it does, it doesn't stop until it burns everything in its path. In the courtroom, Kody sits alone once more. He looks at his reflection in the glass of the water pitcher. For the first time, he doesn't see confidence staring back. He sees a man cornered by his own lies. The door opens and Janelle steps inside quietly. "You need to stop this," she says flatly. He looks up, eyes wild. "Stop what?" "Defending myself?" "No, She says, voice shaking, pretending you're innocent. You've hurt all of us, and now you're trying to drag us through hell with you. He slams his hand on the table. You think you're better. You all knew how this worked. You wanted the life, the funds, the cameras. Don't act like you didn't gain. Janelle's expression goes hard. We had a family. That was all. She exits before he can respond. Kody gasps hard, chest rising and falling. His attorney comes back in, holding out a paper. We obtained a new witness. You may not care for who it is. Kody scowls, turning the paper over, and stops. It's Meri, his first wife, his oldest supporter, the one who remained when all the rest abandoned him. But now she's been summoned by the prosecution. His gut knots. Out in the hallway, Meri stands outside the witness room door, twisting her hands together. She looks weary, her eyes bruised from lost sleep. As the bailiff summons her inside, she goes slowly, each step heavier than the one before. As she steps into the witness stand, Kody attempts to catch her eye, but she refuses to look at him. The prosecutor approaches him softly. Meri, how long did you and the defendant have a marriage? And during those 33 years, would you say that you trusted him? She pauses. I did. Entirely. Until I figured out trust was simply another weapon he wielded to manipulate us. Kody clamps his jaw shut. Not true, but the judge tells him to be silent. Meri goes on, shaking but strong. He instructed me what to do, what to think, even how to feel. And when I dared to question him, he'd make me think I was the issue. That's what he does. He distorts love so you can't distinguish right from wrong. The courtroom is silent. Even Robyn appears stunned. Meri rummages in her purse and brings out an envelope. I saved these, offering them to the bailiff. Letters he wrote me. Threatening letters to remain silent regarding the accounts. The judge inspects them closely. Mr. Brown, do you have anything to say to this? Kody shakes his head, his voice a mere whisper. She's lying. She's lying. She's all lying. But no one trusts him anymore. His tone isn't one of authority, it's one of desperation. And nothing kills a man more quickly than seeing his own words lose effectiveness. Christine's throat constricts. This is the Kody she remembers, not the self-assured husband on the show, but the man who could never concede defeat, even when reality was slapped in his face. The prosecutor addresses Meri once more. Why now? Why come forward? Meri's eyes shine. Because for years, I let him get away with making me feel insignificant. But when I saw what he did to Christine, when I saw Robyn take the fall, I knew it had to end. Someone had to tell the truth. Kody shoots her a dirty look, but his silence is more revealing than his words ever could be. The judge requests a brief adjournment, and as everyone rises, Kody jumps up abruptly, shouting, "You think you're all innocent? You're not. All of you played your part." The gavel comes crashing down. Mr. Brown, be seated or you'll be held in contempt. He gasps, panting, but slowly sits back down in his chair. The tension is intolerable. Reporters scramble outside, reporting every incendiary quote. On social media, the world splits down the middle. Some remain loyal to him, others are celebrating the wives who finally take a stand against him. Christine thumbs through her phone later, reading comments that read, "She's the real hero," and "Justice for Christine." But she doesn't feel like a hero. She aches. That evening, while the courthouse clears out, she sits in her car, seeing the rain run down the windshield. She recalls the man she used to love, the laughs, the vows, the home they created. All of it a bitter memory now. Her phone vibrates. A text from a number she doesn't know. You think you've won, but you don't know the whole story. Her breath hitches. Could it be him? The number isn't saved, but she knows that tone. Kody's arrogance leaks through even text. She types back, hands shaking, "You're done, Kody. Stop trying to scare me." No reply. She locks her phone, heart pounding. Meanwhile, inside the courthouse, Kody sits alone in the dark, the echo of the day still ringing in his head. His attorney is gone, he is immobile. He glares at the vacant witness stand Robyn occupied moments before. He speaks out loud. "You are to be with me," he whispers. "All of you." He covers his face with his hands, and for the first time, a single tear trickles down. But it is not remorse, it is rage. Because deep inside, Kody has a secret no one else does. There is a file, an invisible file, that would turn the case on its head. A file that not only exonerates him, but incinerates everyone else to ashes. And when he chooses to employ it, this trial will switch from a struggle for truth into a battle for survival. The camera tightens on his face, illuminated by the dim light of the courtroom fixtures. He wipes his eyes, straightens his tie, and mutters under his breath, "If they want war, I'll give them war." As he stands, thunder rumbles outside, echoing through the empty halls, a sound that feels like the beginning of something far darker than anyone imagined. By dawn, the courthouse looked different, quieter, colder, almost as if it sensed what was coming. The tempest that had blown in the previous night hadn't let up. Rain continued to pummel the windows, thunder growling like a threat from somewhere far above. Kody Brown came early, much earlier than the cameras, wearing black this time, hair slicked back, eyes hollow and piercing. Gone was the tense, cornered man of yesterday. Today, he had the bearing of a man who'd made up his mind, and that mind was set for war. His attorney trailed behind, murmuring, "Are you certain about this?" Kody remained silent. He didn't have to. He was finished playing defense. As he set down a brown envelope that was sealed. It was heavy, too heavy, and marked, "Private financial records, confidential." Christine spotted it the moment she came in. Her stomach knotted. She recognized that envelope, years earlier, when Kody hid it in his office drawer. Robyn came in next, eyes puffy and red from another night without sleep. She evaded all eyes, her purse clutched tightly, as if she was anticipating someone snatching it from her. Meri tagged along in silence, the gravity of the previous day's testimony weighing heavy in each stride she made. Janelle came last, unwavering and cold. She leaned next to Christine, muttering, "He's up to something." Christine nodded, her heart racing, muttering back, "Yeah. And it will not be good." The judge arrived, her gavel coming down on wood with a firmness. "Court is in session." Kody's attorney stood. "Your Honor, the defense would like to present new evidence that will squarely contradict yesterday's testimony." The prosecution jumped up in protest at once, calling it a stalling maneuver, but Kody's attorney went forward. "This evidence will show that my client was not alone acting, and that large amounts of money were transferred on his own without his knowledge." The judge permitted it, interest dancing in her eyes. "Proceed." Kody leaned forward, sliding the envelope across the table toward the bailiff. As it was carried to the judge, the room fell eerily silent. Christine's pulse quickened. Robyn looked confused. Meri's lips parted slightly, sensing danger. When the judge opened the file, her brows furrowed. These documents claim that Mrs. Christine Brown and Mrs. Christine Brown and Mrs. Janelle Brown authorized the transactions in question. "Is that correct?" Murmurs burst out in the courtroom. Christine's mouth dried up. "What?" she exclaimed. Janelle shook her head frantically. "That's a lie." Kody leaned back, arms crossed, the slightest smirk on his lips. "It's all documented, Your Honor. Signatures, transfers, even emails. I never touched those accounts." "They did." Christine leaped from her seat. "You forged those," she thundered. The judge pounded her gavel. "Mrs. Brown, you sit down or I will have you escorted out." But Christine couldn't. "He's lying. He's twisting it all like he always does." Kody leaned forward, his tone low but poisonous. "Funny how fast you spin when the truth's no longer convenient." His lawyer passed over more documents, and the judge read them, the look of confusion on her face growing. The prosecution called for closer inspection, and as they leafed through the evidence, their faces paled. The papers were persuasive, unnervingly so. "We will have to verify these," the prosecutor blurted out. They might be forged, but the damage was already done." Journalists at the back murmured angrily, sending text messages and tweets that would illuminate the web within minutes. Christine sat down, her hands shaking, glowering at Kody. "You forged my name. You actually forged my name. She spoke in a barely audible voice. Kody didn't respond. He didn't need to. His silence was a tacit admission shrouded in arrogance. And at this moment, everyone knew that Kody wasn't struggling to prove his innocence anymore. He was struggling to ruin everyone else first. Over the break, Christine and Janelle pinned Robyn up in the hallway. You knew about it, Christine accused. Robyn shook her head wildly. No, I didn't sip down it after. After what? Janelle cut her off. After you decided to save yourself? Robyn's voice broke. You don't know what you're talking about. He said he had backups, documents, insurance in case things ever went wrong. I thought he was bluffing. Christine moved in closer, eyes blazing. You knew, Robyn. You always knew. Robyn cried openly now, her voice cracking into a whisper. I thought I could fix him. Christine spun around, taunting laughter rushing from her mouth. You can't fix a man who doesn't think he's broken. Outside the courtroom, Kody stood watching behind the glass window, face inscrutable. His attorney leaned in. They'll strike back, you know. Let them, answered Kody in a cold tone. I've already got what I need. He looked at a small flash drive in his hand, a one that no one else had seen. He tucked it into his jacket pocket. When the hearing picked up again, the air was thicker than the storm outside. The prosecution was ready for them, questioning the validity of the documents. A forensic expert was summoned to take a look at them. As she testified, her words caused another shockwave in the room. From my initial review, these signatures look real. Christine's head shot up. That's not possible. But the analyst waved the papers at her. The ink, the pressure points, the style, they match Mrs. Brown's handwriting samples precisely. Christine felt a sinking sensation in her stomach. She recalled something all of a sudden. Years ago, signing blank forms Kody said were for taxes. She gasped for breath. He deceived me. She breathed, comprehension striking too late. He filled out old forms with my signature. Kody's smirk reappeared, weak but lethal. The prosecutor noticed it too. You're admitting that you employed her signature from documents that had nothing to do with the case. Kody's attorney protested, but Kody interrupted before he could silence himself. I used what I had to defend myself. The room fell silent. That was all the verification anyone would ever need. The judge's eyes turned cold. Mr. Brown, are you confessing to forging evidence? No, Kody replied hastily. I'm confessing to duplicating signatures that already exist. That's not forgery, that's evidence. That's tampering. Christine snapped back. That's what you've done your whole life. The crowd grew restless, the murmur rising like a wave. The judge rapped her gavel once more. Another outburst, and this court will be cleared. But Kody was coming apart, his voice increasing in pitch. You all turned on me after all that I established for you. The houses, the television show, the celebrity. None of you would have anything without me. Robyn winced at the venom in his tone. You established it for yourself. She ventured gently. Kody's eyes snapped to her, icy and menacing. Don't start, Robyn. You're no saint. The ensuing silence was heavy. He leaned closer, voice descending to a low murmur. You want to tell them about the cabin? About what you hid? Robyn's eyes widened, panic crossing her face. Don't, she breathed. Please don't. Christine scowled. What cabin? But Kody didn't reply. He simply smiled, that cruel, knowing smile that made everyone shiver. And thus, power turned again, from fear to curiosity, from defense to fright. For if Kody was willing to set the rest of them ablaze, what was he so hiding in that cabin? Christine trailed Robyn outside after court let out. Rain drenched them both as she caught her by the arm. What is he saying? Robyn hesitated, looking around as if the walls had ears. It's nothing. It was years ago, before we relocated. There was cash, real estate. I never said anything to anyone because I assumed it was in case of emergencies. You mean his emergencies? Christine growled. Robyn avoided her eyes. He said to me if anything ever went wrong, that cabin would protect us. I had no idea what he meant. Christine's eyes tightened. Protect us from what? But before Robyn was able to respond, courthouse doors swung open. Kody burst through them, disregarding the cameras clicking in his wake. Reporters called out questions, but he remained silent, his expression chiseled in stone. He jumped into his car, closed the door hard, and sped away into the rain. Inside, Janelle made her way to Christine, looking pale. The prosecution just received a warrant, she told her. Dot, they're going to search that cabin. Christine blinked. Today. Tonight. The two women shared a glance, half fear, half anticipation. They didn't know what they'd discover there, but one thing was sure. Kody had just let loose something much larger than any of them could have dreamed. That night, as lightning cracked across the mountains, police cars made their way up the dirt road to the isolated cabin. Robyn stood in front of her window, viewing the news broadcast, silent tears streaming down her face. Christine sat in her own living room with phone to ear, waiting. When the call did arrive, her blood chilled. Mrs. Brown, said the investigator, we've discovered something. You need to come on down. She quickly put on her coat and departed without comment. Hours later, the camera accompanied her into the cabin, dark, the atmosphere heavy with dust and ancient secrets. The police had found piles of files, secreted behind a false wall. Bank statements, contracts, letters, and photos. Christine took one up, her hands trembling. It was of Kody and another woman, not one of the wives, standing by the cabin, smiling, holding hands. The date stamp was 2 years prior to their breakup. She swallowed, her stomach nodding. Who is she? She breathed. The officer shot her a stern look. We don't know yet, but she's listed as a co-owner of this home, and half the money in the offshore account is in her name. Christine felt her world spin. He wasn't keeping just money, she whispered. He was leading a whole other life. And in that one instant, the tale that had started as a courtroom fight between faith and deception became something much more sinister. An intricate web of lies, clandestine love, and secrets that no one in the Sister Wives universe was prepared to accept. The camera crept closer to Christine's face, rain and tears commingling as thunder boomed overhead. He lied to all of us, she whispered. And now, the truth could ruin more than him. Lightning crackles over the mountains as the truth rages faster than the storm. The news of the secret cabin sparks shockwaves across the nation, taking over every headline, every talk show, every trending hashtag. Kody Brown's secret life revealed. The secret woman behind Sister Wives scandal. Inside the courthouse the next morning, tension buzzes like electricity. Christine arrives first, exhausted but determined, her mind replaying the image of that photo over and over. Kody with a woman she's never seen before, smiling like the man she once loved, but different, freer, colder. Undefined. Robyn enters next, her face pale and puffy from tears. Undefined. She can barely meet Christine's eyes. Undefined. Meri and Janelle follow quietly, both visibly shaken. Undefined. When Kody finally walks in defined. When Kody finally walks in defined. When Kody finally walks in defined. When Kody finally walks in tined. When Kody finally walks in twined. When Kody finally walks in signed. When Kody finally walks in. He stands calm once more, perhaps a bit too calm, as if the tempest raging outside doesn't reach him. Undefined. He adjusts his tie, face impassive, but there is something different about his eyes, something volatile. Undefined. The judge starts, voice unyielding, operation exception. Prior to continuing testimony, the court needs to consider the evidence found last night at the defendant's secondary residence. She looks to the prosecutor, who stands and moves forward, holding a file. Your Honor, among the documents found, there are deeds, financial records, and multiple photos linking Mr. Brown to an individual named Rachel Moore, a name previously unknown to the prosecution. Gasps ripple through the gallery. Undefined. Kody's jaw tightens, but he doesn't flinch. Undefined. Christine's chest constricts. Undefined. Rachel. She whispers under her breath, testing the name like it's poison. Undefined. Who is she? Undefined. The prosecutor continues. Rachel Moore is a co-owner of the cabin property and a joint holder of the referenced offshore account in this trial. Undefined. We suspect she could have been a participant in financial transactions involving the family's pooled funds. Kody's attorney stands up, objecting. Undefined, Your Honor. The personal life of my client has no bearing on the charges brought here.
But the judge's eyes narrow. Not if those relationships are financial misconduct.
The objection is overruled. Undefined. Kody breathes slowly, his mask cracking sufficiently to reveal the flicker of fear beneath. Christine stands up suddenly. Statics, Your Honor. May I speak? Undefined. The courtroom hums. The judge pauses, then nods. Christine moves forward, her voice firm but weighted with pain. That cabin, that's where he would go when he said he needed to pray or think. He said it was private time to reflect, but we all knew better. Undefined. He would be gone for days at a time, wouldn't return calls, wouldn't tell us where he was going. She confronts Kody directly. You weren't praying, Gunadad, you were lying. Kody shakes his head, attempting to smile but not succeeding.
Christine, don't do this. You don't understand. No, she snaps. I understand perfectly. Undefined. You built that cabin to hide from the life you created. Undefined. You built it to hide her.
The crowd murmurs louder, reporters scribbling furiously. Undefined. The judge demands order, but the damage is done. Undefined. Kody's image as a misunderstood man of faith crumbles further, replaced by something darker. The audience watching from home feels the shift. This isn't just a trial about money anymore, it's about betrayal layered so deep it's practically criminal. Undefined. Robyn's eyes brim with tears as she whispers to Meri. He promised me, she whispers to Meri. He promised me she was just a business partner. Meri's face hardens. Undefined. You still believe him after all this? Robyn shakes her head, whispering, I don't know what to believe anymore. The prosecution calls their next witness, a private investigator who had been tracking Kody's activity for months. The male steps up to the witness stand, opening a small notebook. During our surveillance, we recorded several visits by the defendant to the cabin over the course of 2 years. At least 6 times, he had with him a woman who fit Rachel Moore's description. Do you have photographs? The prosecutor asks. Yes. He holds up several printed photographs for the court to view. The room gasps once more. There's Kody, laughing, smiling, hands clasped with Rachel, her face shrouded in sunglasses, but her presence unmistakable. Robyn hides her face in her hands. Christine's knees go weak, but she still stands. She has waited decades for truth, even at the cost of her own destruction. Mr. Brown, the prosecutor cuts in curtly, would you care to explain these photographs? Kody swallows hard. Her role was consultant. I employed her as a financial advisor. That's it. At an isolated cabin, on a regular basis, for 2 years. The prosecutor's sarcasm slices like glass. Kody's attorney protests again, but even he sounds wary now. The judge leans forward. Mr. Brown, this court demands complete openness. Perjury under oath will make things worse for you. Kody takes a deep breath, his voice going low. It wasn't what it seems. Christine laughs with a bitter tone. It never is it? Kody's face twists in rage. You think you're so innocent, Christine? You think this all transpired because of me? You all deserted me. You tore this family apart. No, Kody, she responds with venom, tears shining in her eyes. You shattered it the day you chose love as something you could possess. The succeeding silence is oppressive. Even the cameras hold back, not wanting to intrude on the nakedness of the moment. And yet, in that stillness, the audience leans forward, because this is no longer just drama. This is heartbreak turned into ammunition. The judge declares another recess, but nobody gets up. Kody slowly lowers himself into a chair, his hands shaking. The full weight of what he's done finally starts to hit him. Not the trial, but for the first time, the realization that he's really alone. Meri regards him from across the room, her eyes weary, full of something that borders on pity. You could have told the truth, she whispers. Why didn't you stop this before it got this far? He gazes up, his voice raw. And lose everything? No, I'd rather fight. She shakes her head. You already lost everything, Kody. You just don't know it yet. Reporters cling to Robyn outside the courthouse. Did you know about the other woman? Were you in on the cover-up? Robyn elbowed her way through the mayhem, her own eyes misting with tears. She doesn't respond. She can't. Inside, Christine and Janelle sit in a tiny waiting room in silence. The rain patters weakly against the windows, the patter almost soothing after the tempest of the morning. At last, Janelle speaks. You think she'll testify? Christine looks at her. If she's smart, she'll vanish. Christine shakes her head. No. Women like her, they always return when they figure out he'll throw them under the bus too. Christine breathes deeply. Then I suppose the next explosion's already on the way. Hours later, when court resumes, the prosecutor rises. Your Honor, the state calls Rachel Moore to the stand. All heads swivel as a woman enters the double doors, tall, elegant, her hair tied back neatly. Rachel, younger than Christine anticipated, possibly late 30s, dressed in simple but unflappable fashion. Kody's face goes white. No, he breathes. No, he breathes. No, she wouldn't, but she has. Rachel steps up to the stand, not daring to glance his way. The prosecutor smiles weakly. Ms. Moore, thanks for joining us. Can you explain to the court how you know Mr. Brown? Her tone is calm, even. We met 5 years ago. He said he was divorced from his wives. He said he desired a do-over. Christine bristles. Janelle's jaw clenches. And when did you discover that wasn't true? 2 years after that, Rachel says, glancing over at Kody, I discovered old family records in the cabin. He explained they were from another life, something he did not discuss. But as I read the names, Christine, Janelle, Robyn, Meri, I understood I was living within his deception. Kody stands up. You have no idea what you're speaking of. You have no idea what you're speaking of. Sit down, Mr. Brown, commands the judge. Rachel does not blink. He said I was the only one to ever truly understand him. That's what he said the first night he took me there. But the whole thing about him was scripted, every word, every tear. He said he was betrayed, that everybody turned on him. I sympathized with him, until I knew I was just another iteration of the same tale. Christine feels a curious peace settle over her. The truth is painful, but it liberates. Kody's voice cuts through the silence, low and desperate. Rachel, please. You know I loved you. Rachel's expression turns hard. You don't love anyone, Kody. You just collect people until they stop believing your lies. The courtroom erupts in complete silence. The judge even looks stunned. And for the first time throughout the trial, Kody Brown has no words left. As the session comes to a close, the wives file out silently. The tempest beyond has passed, but the air is thicker than ever. Christine pauses on the courthouse steps, gazing up at the slate sky. It's over, Janelle whispers in her ear. Christine nods slightly. No, she speaks softly. It's just beginning. For even while Kody's reputation smolders in public shame, something within Christine changes. She feels the burden lifting, decades of silence, control, and fear unraveling into rain. But deep inside, a whisper remains. What if he is not done? That evening, Christine sits in her kitchen by herself, and her phone rings again. No caller ID. One text. You think you've seen the worst of me? You haven't. Her blood freezes. She glances in the direction of the window, half expecting to see him in the shadows outside. But there's nothing there, only her own reflection looking back, eyes wide with terror and strength both. She locks the door, her heart racing. The camera turns away on the light of her phone screen, that message still apparent. And as the scene closes, something becomes agonizingly clear. The courtroom can be closing in on Kody Brown, but the war he's about to wage has only just begun. Rain poured all night like a curse that would never break, drumming against the courthouse windows as if the storm itself was desperate to be included in the mayhem. By dawn, the city was awash in secrets. Rachel Moore's testimony had torn open everything Kody Brown had worked for decades to conceal. Every media outlet played back her shaking voice, every headline shrieked betrayal. But within the courthouse, Christine wasn't triumphant. She sat by herself in a corner, gazing at the vacant witness stand. The truth had been revealed, certainly, but at what expense? Her children were shaken, hiding from cameras. Janelle hadn't returned her calls since last night. Robyn was gone. And Meri was quiet now, withdrawn, observing everything like she knew something she didn't want to reveal. When the court resumed, the atmosphere within was thick, almost anesthetizing. Kody sat at the defense table, no longer polished or cocky, hollow. His face was pale, his eyes bloodshot. His lawyer spoke quietly to him, but Kody did not respond. The judge appeared, the gavel came down, and silence consumed the room entirely. Before we begin, the judge started, I want to make sure that the record reflects that this court received new evidence last night. The crowd stirred. Christine's stomach bottomed out. The prosecutor rose. Your Honor, the state had a string of anonymous tapes, seemingly between Mr. Brown and Ms. Moore, as well as other members of the Brown family. The tapes show conversation regarding secret financial accounts, but more specifically, they reveal intentional manipulation of family members to hold control. Christine's heart was pounding. Anonymous tapes? Who sent them? The prosecutor went on, we believe the source of these tapes is close to the family. All eyes in the room went to the wives section. Robyn arrived just then, her face white, her body shaking as if the air itself had chilled around her. She walked directly past Christine, not even looking at her, and sat down near the back. Christine knew right away. Robyn had done it. The tapes belonged to her. The viewers sit forward in quiet, the truth sinking in. The perpetually tearful wife might just have served up the ultimate betrayal. The prosecutor entered the first tape into evidence. The courtroom speakers crackled, and then Kody's voice echoed through the room. Gentle, measured, and unrecognizably different from what he'd sounded like on the stand. They think they can leave me, his voice declared. They think they can rebuild without me. But I know things that could ruin them if I wanted to. Another voice, Rachel's, answered, low but strained. Kody, you can't keep doing this. You said you'd walk away. I'll walk away when they stop trying to destroy me, he spat. Until then, I'll control the narrative. I always do. Christine felt the air leave her body. The gallery dissolved into whispers, but the judge's gavel came down hard for order. Kody's attorney appeared as though he wished to disappear. Mr. Brown, the judge commanded sternly, these tapes indicate intentional coercion of your family members. Do you refute these statements? Kody stiffened, his eyes flashing with something wild. Those tapes are out of context. I was angry. They were threatening me. I was standing up for myself. But he spoke in a crack, and that one crack was the truth his words could not conceal. Christine glanced at Robyn once again, who now sat with sobs running down her face. The prosecutor gazed at her. Mrs. Brown, did you supply these tapes? Robyn paused and then nodded. Yes. The courtroom erupted in gasps. Kody's face contorted in disbelief. You, he bellowed, betrayed you. Robyn's voice trembled but was unyielding. You betrayed us all, Kody. I trusted you. I stood up for you, and all this while you were scheming on how to use us against one another. You claimed God wished this trial so you could demonstrate your strength. But all it's done is show how far you'll go to stay in control. Kody slammed his hand on the table, but the bailiff stepped forward before he could move further. The judge's patience snapped. Enough. Her voice thundered through the room. Mr. Brown, one more outburst and you'll be removed from this courtroom. Kody sat down, breathing heavily, glaring at Robyn as if she'd stabbed him. Christine could nearly see the thoughts whizzing through his eyes, anger, disbelief, panic. He was falling apart, and everyone was watching. This is the turning point viewers wait for, the bad guy finally trapped, his kingdom toppling not through strength, but through the very hands he used to dominate. The next tape started. This one was worse. Rachel's voice again, begging. Kody, stop threatening them. They're terrified. They should be, he replied icily. They owe me everything. Their lives, their houses, their religion. Without me, they're nothing. Christine was ill. The man she once loved with all her heart sounded like a stranger, a predator feeding on power. Over in the corner, Janelle whispered, "He's lost it." Christine nodded, tears streaming silently down her face. When the tape finished playing, the judge breathed in sharply. "This evidence turns everything around," she stated. "I am ordering a complete audit of the Brown family's finances. If we do discover more evidence of fraud or intimidation, more charges will be filed right away." Kody's attorney protested half-heartedly, but even he knew it was finished. The wives were silent, the burden of years crashing down in one instant. But then, out of the back of the courtroom, a new voice pierced, deep, anxious, male. "Your Honor," the man declared, standing unsteadily. He was one of Kody's past business partners, a reserved man named Harold Jensen. "I have something to say." He edged forward, holding an envelope. "These are statements from our shared account. Kody sent thousands of dollars in our name under false names. He stated it was for family expenses, but the funds never went there. They went offshore." The prosecutor opened the envelope, scanning its contents rapidly. "Your Honor, this supports the anonymous reports discovered in the cabin." Kody's attorney attempted to interrupt, but the judge shut him down with a glance. "Mr. Brown," she asked, "do you have anything to say before we proceed for the day?" Kody's shoulders dropped. For what felt like a lengthy period, he did not say anything. Then, in hardly more than a whisper, he spoke. "They all wished for a perfect life. I provided one, and now they wish to crucify me for it." Christine felt a pain in her heart, not because of sympathy, but because he still did not get it. He was not sorry. He would never be sorry. The judge struck the gavel. "Court is adjourned until tomorrow morning." All of them took a collective breath, but none of them moved. Journalists scrambled out of the room, all too keen to feed the news to a world addicted to scandal. Christine stood up slowly, her hands trembling. Robyn came over, eyes puffy. "I didn't mean it to go this far," she whispered. "I just couldn't live with the lies anymore." Christine nodded, her tone even. "Whatever you had to do, you did. Maybe we can breathe now, too." But she wasn't sure she was believing it even as she said it. As they exited together, a paparazzo caught Kody being escorted away by security for his tantrum. His gaze locked onto Christine one last time, and for one tiny moment, she thought she saw something of a human being there. Fear, remorse, perhaps even love distorted into something else. The rain had ceased outside, but the thunder still roared in the distance, a reminder storms don't subside simply because clouds pass. That evening, Christine came home to discover her porch light flashing. She edged closer, seeing a little white envelope pinned to the door. No name, no return address, only her name scribbled in unsteady lettering. Inside was one photograph, the cabin from a distance at midnight. In the far corner of the picture, visible only if one looked closely, was a shadow, tall, unmistakably male, standing by the window. Her breath seized. On the back, in identical handwriting, were 4 words, "You don't know everything." Her hands were shaking. She gazed into the darkness outside her yard. Nothing stirred. No noise except for the gentle breeze. She ran indoors, closing every door, pulling every curtain shut. For the first time, she understood the trial could not finish with justice. It could finish with something so much worse. And as the camera moves out through the rain-soaked window, the question remains, if Kody's already been exposed, then who snapped that photo and what lies in store for her in the darkness? The evening of the night the picture came, Christine lay awake. Every step of the house made her jump, every howl of the wind against the windows make her heart skip a beat. She left the photograph on the kitchen table, gazing at it in the dim light as if it would speak for itself. The shadow by the cabin window had appeared so real, so fresh, that she had expected to feel it still watching her back. She got into the courthouse early the next morning, her nerves raw. The rest of the world was getting on with things. Social media was filled with trial memes and clips of news about the trial, strangers arguing about whether Kody Brown was a villain or a victim. But within that courtroom, it was no longer a show. It felt like war. The judge came in, accompanied by federal investigators now helping out with the Financial Crimes Department. The courtroom, which had been packed with curious spectators earlier, was now more subdued, more somber. The prosecutor didn't waste any time. "Your Honor, my office got a new package last night. Photos and papers that look to have been taken inside the cabin after police cleared the area. The date on the timestamp says they were snapped less than 24 hours ago." Christine's stomach churned. "Who took them?" The judge snapped. "We don't know yet," the prosecutor replied, "but there's more. The pictures indicate that someone has gone back to that area, perhaps to burn or remove leftover evidence." The room was filled with whispers. Kody's attorney seethed, hissing under his breath at his client, but Kody just glared at the table, unmoving, too quiet. Christine monitored him intensely. There was something in his stance that didn't feel right, like a man who was no longer afraid because he already had a plan. The audience can sense it too, the creepy silence before the storm, the fear that something far larger than a trial is about to descend. The judge commanded an immediate security investigation. "If anyone is attempting to tamper with evidence, they will be prosecuted to the fullest extent," she warned. The prosecutor then called a new witness, Detective Laura Easton, the officer leading the financial investigation. Laura took the stand with an air of quiet authority. "We've been reviewing the offshore accounts connected to the Brown family," she began. "What we've discovered goes beyond simple mismanagement. These accounts were used to launder funds through shell charities under religious exemptions. Mr. Brown registered these charities in multiple states, funneling donations through them." Christine's breath caught. This wasn't just about betrayal anymore, it was criminal. Laura continued, "Our records indicate he had help. These accounts required multiple signatures." "From who?" the judge asked. "We're still tracing it," Laura said. "But there's one signature that continues to crop up, initials MB, Meri Brown." Christine's heart iced up. Meri sat stock still, her face pale. "That can't be," she said, in a barely audible voice. "I never signed anything like this." The prosecutor slipped a folder across the table. "Is this your signature?" Meri clutched it, shaking. "It's similar to mine, but I don't recall ever signing off on these papers." The judge hunched forward. "Are you telling me your signature was forged?" "I don't know," Meri replied softly. "Kody did all the paperwork. I trusted him." Kody finally met her gaze, his eyes contorting into something unrecognizable. "You signed them, Meri. You just don't want to own up to it now." "You lie," she screamed, standing. The judge's gavel came down. "Order. Mrs. Brown, sit down." Meri's voice broke. "You got me to sign things without explaining to me what they were. You told me it was for family trusts, not offshore accounts. And you trusted me," Kody retorted icily. "That's on you." The room lost air. Even the guards appeared taken aback by his brutality. Christine gazed at Meri, the woman who had suffered years of silent isolation, and watched her shatter. The control mask she'd been wearing for years was shed, replaced by hard betrayal. It's the type of agony that plants itself directly in the viewer's chest. The instant trust is transformed into weapon. The prosecutor was fast. "Your Honor, in light of this new discovery, we would like a forensic handwriting exam and computer authentication on all relevant documents." The judge concurred. "Do it now." Kody huddled beside his attorney, talking hotly in a whisper, but the attorney's face told the tale. They were out of options. At recess, Christine sat down next to Meri in the hallway, who sat alone, staring at her hands. "He used us," Meri said softly. "All of us. And I let him." Christine sat down next to her. "You're not alone. We all did. We believed in something that never existed." Meri glanced up, her eyes shining. "He told me he needed me because I was devoted. He told me I was the only one who still loved him." Christine nodded. "That's how he manipulated you." Meri's lips quivered. "I thought I was assisting him in keeping the family together. I didn't realize I was assisting him in destroying it." Christine took Meri's hand, squeezing it. "You can still assist in repairing it. Be truthful, the whole truth." When court came back in session, Meri requested to be able to make a statement. The judge paused, then nodded. Meri rose to her feet, her voice trembling but determined. I remained silent for too long. I believed that if I remained loyal, everything would work out in the end. But it doesn't. It never did. I did sign papers having no idea what they were because Kody told me they were family business. But I realize now he never was defending us. He was defending himself. Kody's attorney objected, saying it was emotional manipulation, but the judge permitted her to proceed. For years, I've seen him turn us on each other. Tell me Christine was selfish. Tell Janelle I was jealous. Tell Robyn she was special. We were never wives to him. We were pawns. Kody pounded his fist on the table. That's not true. Then why did you threaten Christine after the last hearing? Meri flared. Gasps echoed in the courtroom. Christine's head shot up. What? The judge's tone turned sharp. Is that true, Mrs. Brown? Meri nodded slowly. He called me last night. He said Christine didn't know everything, that she should stop pushing or she'd regret it. Christine's body went cold. The room erupted again, but this time the judge's fury was unmistakable. Mr. Brown, if that's true, you've violated direct court orders. Bailiff, take away his phone. Kody's attorney attempted to interrupt, but it was too late. The bailiff removed the phone, gave it to the prosecutor, who swiftly accessed the call records. There it was, a 2 a.m. call to Meri. The courtroom went silent as the evidence screamed for itself. And suddenly, the tension releases, the manipulator cornered at last by his own hubris. The judge's tone was glacial. Mr. Brown, you are remanded into custody for a contempt review. Kody's eyes went wide. You can't do this. Watch me, she said. As the bailiff handcuffed him, Kody's facade broke completely. You think this is finished and you're off scot-free? You have no idea what's next. His voice reverberated down the corridor as he was pulled away. Christine sat immobilized, his words ringing in her head. That night, when the wives met outside in the ebbing light, they felt something akin to relief, tenuous, unrecognizable, yet present. For the first time, they were not adversaries. They were survivors. They were survivors. Robyn held Christine closely. It's done, she breathed. Christine nodded, but secretly she wasn't sure. She drove home in silence, headlights slicing through the darkness, his last words replaying in her head. You have no idea what's coming. She pulled into her driveway and saw the porch light was on again, constant this time. She got out, scanning around cautiously. No one in sight. She unlocked the door and stood still. The picture that had sat on her desk was missing. Instead was a new one, another photo of the cabin, but now the figure was nearer, clearer, and definitely Kody. He held something in his hand. A lighter. The back of the photo was inscribed in new writing. Tomorrow, everything burns. Christine backed away from her desk, trembling as she fumbled for her phone. She called the prosecutor's number, her voice hardly steady. He's doing something. You must send someone to the cabin. Christine, the prosecutor replied hastily, we already have someone headed out. Someone broke onto the site once more an hour ago. We're tracking them now. Christine's breath caught. Please tell me you're not too late. The line went quiet for a moment, then the prosecutor spoke again, voice tense. Christine, the cabin's on fire. And as the screen goes black, audiences are left gasping. The courtroom might have ensnared Kody, but his ultimate act of revenge has just started, and no one knows what's yet to be set ablaze. The truth, the evidence, or the past itself. The smoke drifted like a specter above the mountains, curling into the dawn air as firefighters fought what was left of the sister wives' notorious cabin. Christine reached the scene just before dawn, accompanied by police officers who implored her to remain behind the barricade, but she couldn't turn away. The cabin was no more. Nothing but burned-out skeletons of beams and ash remained, the smell of smoke and memory hanging heavy in the air. Her fingers shook as she gripped her phone, reliving the final words uttered in court by Kody. You have no idea what's coming. As early as that morning, media crews converged at the site, their lenses covering all aspects of devastation. The news headline flashed across screens in minutes. Sister Wives trial cabin burned down in mysterious blaze, Kody Brown in jail. It seemed to be the end of something, but Christine was smarter than that. It wasn't the end. It was the beginning of the unraveling. Tension was like electricity inside the courthouse later that day. The judge's chambers were cordoned off, federal officials had been summoned, and the prosecution staff appeared shaken and ready to string her up. When Christine walked in, they all turned to her, the woman who had defied the man the world used to view as a reality TV patriarch, now the face of his collapse. The prosecutor, Lauren Grant, took her aside. "We found accelerant residue in 3 locations inside the cabin," she said. "It was arson. The question is, who did it?" Christine frowned. "You think he did it from jail? It's possible. He made calls last night using someone else's access code. We're tracking it." Christine felt a chill crawl up her spine. "So he's still pulling strings from inside." Lauren nodded grimly. "And whoever assisted him is still around." As the courtroom was filled again, Christine saw Robyn and Janelle sitting together, something that hadn't happened for years. Sorrow had united them in ways that betrayal never had. Robyn's complexion was pale, her hands trembling as she mouthed, "I never thought he'd do something like this." "Not this." Janelle's voice was icier. "You didn't want to believe it. There's a difference." The judge came in, the whispers ceasing at once. "Prior to continuing today's hearing, I have to report to the court, the location of the Brown family cabin has been burnt. Federal authorities suspect this was an act of arson." Murmurs of dismay spread through the crowd. "Mr. Brown is still in custody," the judge went on, "but due to the timing and extent of his threats, we are initiating a parallel investigation into suspected accomplices." The prosecutor rose. "Your Honor, we have obtained partial tapes from Mr. Brown's detention cell. We believe these will clarify his intentions." The courtroom lights dimmed somewhat as the audio was played. The crackle of static yielded to Kody's unmistakable voice, low, calculating, and unnervingly calm. "They think they can steal everything from me. My family, my legacy, my name. They'll find out what happens when they try to bury the truth." A hesitation, then the sound of a second male voice, deeper, one she didn't know. "You told me you wanted it destroyed. It'll be done." The clip cut off there, but the silence that remained was palpable. Christine's heart sank into her gut. "Who was it?" she breathed. The prosecutor addressed the court. "We're still running the voice, but we believe it's an associate of someone involved with Kody's personal security firm." The defense attorney could not help but object. "That's speculative and circumstantial." "No longer," the prosecutor interjected. "We also uncovered an encrypted text message that had been sent from a prepaid phone discovered in his cellmate's bunk. It had a single sentence, 'Light it up before morning.'" The judge's face grew stern. "Mr. Brown, do you deny these messages?" Kody, dressed in his orange jumpsuit, merely sat back and grinned, a small, self-satisfied smile that put the chill down Christine's spine. "You think fire frightens me?" he replied. "Do you believe truth is like a fire that burns?" "The only thing that's burning is your narrative," snapped Christine out of the sudden silence. All heads swiveled in her direction. "You invested years in crafting your persona, the ideal patriarch, the family man, the believer, and now look at you. You're ash, Kody." His smile evaporated. "You're still talking, Christine, but you do not get it. None of this goes away with me. You think I worked by myself. You think I did not plan for this." The judge banged the gavel. "That's enough. Mr. Brown, you will be quiet or removed." But the harm had been done. Each sentence from his lips suggested something greater, a scheme in the works behind the cell walls. Later, when Christine sat in a waiting room with the other wives, Robyn spoke under her breath, as if to herself. "He had a storage unit," she replied. "When we were shooting season 12. He told me it was for family documents, but I never got to see what was in it." Janelle's head snapped up. "Where?" "Just outside of Flagstaff, close to the old church building." Lauren, the prosecutor, heard and had an investigative team dispatched immediately. Hours later, Christine's phone vibrated with a text. "We found it." In that storage unit were stacks of boxes containing old contracts, charge checks, phony charity filings, and, more disturbing, old videotapes marked family footage, private. When investigators played one of them, it wasn't family footage. It was Kody, seated in front of a camera years before, recording what appeared to be a manifesto. "If they ever come for me," he said, "I'll make sure they go down with me. Every one of them. The family isn't just mine, it's my creation. And if it falls, so will they." The room went cold. Christine stared at the screen, feeling sick. This wasn't just about crimes or control anymore, it was about legacy. About how far one man would go to ensure his truth lived longer than anyone else's. The hearing resumed the next morning on a new charge: conspiracy to commit arson and obstruction of justice. The prosecutor played the last segment of Kody's taped confession, recorded in his cell following the fire. "The cabin was never just a house," he spoke softly. "It was a tomb, a monument to lies. Burn it, and you set the truth free." "And what truth is that?" his cellmate inquired. "That love never existed. Control did." Christine shut her eyes. It was closure and nightmare all mixed up. The judge ordered to move Kody to a federal jail awaiting complete trial on more charges. As the bailiffs led him away, he turned once more toward the wives and said, "You'll never erase me. My story's already written, and the world will believe it before they believe you." That night, the wives gathered in Christine's house, the same place where they'd once shared laughter, jealousy, and fake smiles for TV. It was quiet now, the fire crackling to interrupt the silence. Meri broke the silence. "Do you think he'll ever change?" Christine's head shook. "No. Men like him never change. They just learn to haunt you in new ways." Janelle sat up straight. "Then we need to finish it, not only in court. We need to say it all. The truth." Robyn hesitated. "Already the media are distorting it. They're portraying him as this tragic figure who lost control." "Then we reclaim our control," Christine stated. "We tell the truth, our truth, every dark, ugly piece of it. Not for him. For us." It was the first time they all concurred on anything. In the weeks ahead, Christine worked with a documentary team, but as a whistleblower, not a reality television star. The name they decided: Sister Wives, Behind the Lies. The pilot began with the flames of the burning cabin, and then Christine's gentle voiceover. "People think our story was about love, but it was about control, fear, and silence. And silence burns the hottest." In his own cell, meanwhile, Kody viewed the same video on a tiny prison TV, his face reflecting back off the fires on screen. His grin was gone, replaced by something hard, a discovery that for the first time, he wasn't the one telling the story anymore. Christine was. Weeks went by, and the FBI found more from the storage unit. Investment letters to investors, embezzled funds tied to private accounts, and one envelope marked C, "Don't open until it's over." In it was one Polaroid, the same shot Christine had received of the cabin, with shadow in the window. They were all like this one, except that it had a message written on the back: "You are always meant to see." She read it for a long time, understanding Kody didn't just want to hurt her, he wanted her to witness, to carry his evil so it could survive. But she wouldn't. The season finale Courtroom concluded with Christine testifying for the final time. "I thought he controlled the story because he was louder," she said. "But the truth doesn't have to scream. It only has to survive." The judge nodded, the words ringing out in the somber room. In the chaos outside, where reporters yelled questions and cameras flashed, Christine didn't slow. She kept going past the lights, past the commotion, towards the car that waited for her. As she drove away from the courthouse, the highway bent toward the mountains, where smoke still billowed faintly from the remains of the cabin. And in that instant, she didn't feel scared. She felt free, tentative, uncertain, but real, because for the first time in years, the fire wasn't his anymore. It was hers. The screen goes dark, the last narration echoing like a haunting reality. When you live too long in someone else's story, you forget your own voice. But when the fire arrives and all you know is reduced to ashes, that is when you begin to speak. Months were gone since the fire, since Christine departed from the courthouse for the last time, but the tale was yet to be ended. The world had long passed away, or so it appeared. News cycles were now focused on new scandals, new tragedies, new diversions. But on the back streets of the web, internet forums continued to hum with speculation on what actually went down that night. Some said Kody wasn't alone in the doing, others that there were secrets hidden that the trial never reached. And at the bottom of her heart, Christine knew that they were correct. She had attempted to start over in Utah, away from the whir of cameras and courtrooms. She began a small women's counseling center for women escaping controlling relationships, giving testimony that even the most predominant manipulation could be overcome. Her first morning addressing her tiny class of 5 women, she whispered, "You can get through anything, but only if you quit surviving at someone else's expense." They nodded, some crying. But even as she spoke, Christine could still feel the ghost of him around her like smoke that refused to dissipate. One evening, as she sorted papers in her office, a letter came. No return address, no postmark. She hesitated before she opened it. It contained a single sheet typed, "You told your truth. Now it was time to hear mine." And under the line, in the corner of the page, was a smudged but recognizable fingerprint. Her heart racing, she flipped the paper over. Nothing else. "He's supposed to be in federal custody," she whispered. The next day, she phoned Lauren, who had meanwhile moved to another district. "Are you sure he's still behind bars?" Christine asked. There was a long pause on the line. "He was," Lauren said slowly. "But 3 days ago, there was a transfer request. A paperwork glitch. He's missing." "What do you mean missing?" "We're looking into it, but Christine, you have to go somewhere safe. The past does have a habit of knocking when you don't expect it, and this time, it wasn't knocking, it was breaking in." Nights blurred into a series of nervous wakefulnesses, daylight hours blurring together into sleep. Local police station patrols around her house, but each evening, she could have sworn she saw things moving in the darkness by the trees. One evening, her daughter truly came running into the room. "Mom, there's someone outside." Christine grabbed the phone, but before she could dial, a familiar voice echoed from the darkness beyond the window. "Christine," it said low, trembling with something between anger and pain. "I didn't come to hurt you." Her hand went cold.
Do.
She moved toward the glass, but the porch light hit his face hard enough for her to make it out, thin, older, with desperate eyes on a man who'd lost everything. "You don't belong here," she whispered. "You don't need to exist outside. These bars, they took everything from me," he breathed. "They made me a monster in front of the world. But you know me, Christine. You know I just wanted to keep us together." "Together?" she asked, her voice cracking. "You burned our house. You attempted to annihilate us." "No," he replied, shaking his head. "I annihilated the deceptions. You just can't understand yet." She heard movement behind him, the shuffle of someone else in the darkness. "Who's with you?" she asked. "Only the one who ever remained faithful," he stated. And then another person emerged, Robyn. Her hair was matted, her complexion wan, eyes puffy from tears. "I did not know where to go else," she breathed. "They told me he broke out and I went crazy. I thought maybe I could get to him first and help bring him in quietly." But Christine recognized in her shaking hands that something was wrong. "Robyn, did you assist him?" Christine whispered. Christine whispered. Robyn shook her head wildly. "No, I promise, I didn't. He called me, told me he needed closure, told me he was dying." "Dying," Christine echoed. Kody approached closer, speaking in a hushed tone. "The doctors say it's my heart. Years of stress. Maybe it's justice. Maybe it's irony. Maybe it's karma," Christine said icily. The tension fractured as police sirens howled in the distance. Kody glanced in the direction of the sound, then at Christine, and in that moment, all the fury washed from his face, replaced by something she'd never seen in him before, regret. "I never wanted this to be how it ended," he told her. "But if my tale is going to end, I wanted it to be while you watched." He let something fall on the porch, a little leather book, before taking off toward the trees as headlights lit up the yard. Officers yelled orders, flashlights slicing through the blackness, but Kody and Robyn were gone into the trees. The journal rested on the ground into the trees. The journal rested on the ground at her feet, wet from the dew. Christine slowly picked it up, her shaking hands opening it. Letters, not to her, but to each of the wives, were within. Each page of admissions, apologies, and chilling rationalizations #undefined Christine. One read, "You were right about everything, but I was too shattered to admit it. #undefined. I constructed a family to demonstrate that I was whole. I ruined it because I wasn't." Another letter, to Janelle, stated, "You followed me because I led you to believe we were being led by God. Undefined. I was only being led by my fear of loneliness." And then another, to Robyn, "You were my final believer, and I used that faith as a weapon. If you still care about me, release me." Christine finished the book, her eyes welling up with tears as police encircled her residence. Undefined. Officers discovered footprints heading north towards the river, but no sign of either of them. The 2-week manhunt ended in finding Robyn first, near an Arizona border cabin, tired, parched, and holding the same journal Christine had turned over to the authorities. She claimed Kody had fallen into the river during a storm and was swept away. Undefined, but no body was ever recovered. Undefined. Some believed he drowned. Others swore they saw him weeks later in Nevada, wandering roadside motels under a different name. Undefined. Christine didn't know what to believe, and maybe, for the first time, she didn't care. Undefined. What mattered was that the story finally felt finished. Undefined. Or maybe be felt finished. Undefined. Or maybe be for the finally felt finished. Undefined. Or maybe be for the find. Or maybe be for the finally felt finished. Undefined. Or maybe be for the first time. Maybe. She went back to her center, stood again before her class, and said, "Sometimes justice isn't a sentence. Perhaps it's surviving long enough to tell your side." But deep within her, a part of her asked whether he was still out there, listening. Perhaps the documentary crew came to find her again months later for a follow-up special. "The people want closure," the director said. "They want to know how it really ended." She smiled faintly. "So do I." They went back to film over the remains of the original cabin. During filming, himself and others cleared out debris for scenes, and Christine stood there as a glint of metal caught her eye. She knelt down to sweep away the dirt, and a rusted locket appeared. When she opened it, the inside contained a small, faded photograph, Kody and the wives, smiling in one of the first seasons of their show. Behind it, scratched lightly onto the metal, were 2 words, "Forgive me." Christine just looked at it for a long time, then closed it softly and stashed it in her pocket. Undefined. "Sometimes the truth doesn't burn away," she said in the episode's final narration. Undefined. "Sometimes it stays in the ashes, waiting for someone brave enough to pick it up." The special was broadcast 3 months later, breaking ratings records. Fans swamped the comments with speculations, feelings, and outrage. Some accusing Kody of being a victim of fame, others labeling him as a monster. Undefined. But there was one question that seemed to rule the discussion. If Kody's body was never discovered, is the tale truly finished? Undefined, the last shot showed the forest behind the cabin ruins, the wind rustling through the trees. Somewhere in the distance, a shadow moved between the trunks. Impossible to say if it was an optical illusion or anything else. Undefined. Christine's voice came one last time. "The thing about fire is, it never really dies. Undefined. It just waits for air." The screen went dark, and the credits rolled over the distant whisper of her breath. Calm, steady, free. Undefined. Then, after the credits, a secret post scene played. A dingy diner somewhere along Route 93. A lone man at the counter, gray hood over his eyes, stirring his coffee deliberately. The waitress smiled pleasantly. "Rough night?" she asked. The man smiled bleakly. "You could say that." She refilled his coffee, looking at the leather bracelet on his wrist, engraved weakly with the letters KB. She didn't see, but the camera did. And as he rummaged in his pocket, a gold locket caught the light between his fingers. The same locket Christine had discovered, or so she believed. Whereas he flipped it over once, glanced inside at the words, and breathed softly, "Forgive me." Then he stood up, left a 20 on the counter, and strode out into the rain. The diner door swung shut behind him, the bell echoing softly, a haunting reminder that some stories never end. Undefined. They just change hands. Undefined. And that's when the voiceover fades out with a final question to the audience. If you had to choose between truth and peace, which one would you really want? Undefined, comment below, because sometimes your answer says more than the story ever could.